buyers to retirees, find success in the Bay County real estate market. I'd love to find just the right home and neighborhood to match your family's needs. Let's make your dream home on the Florida Panhandle a reality. Call or text me, Terry Callahan, at 850-919-5025.
Reliable Copy Products is proud to be the exclusive dealer in Northwest Florida for Kyocera office equipment. Reliable Copy Products has been committed to providing professional, personalized service for the last 35 years. They understand that the right equipment does not always fall within today's budget requirements, so they offer several options for the equipment you need today for the growth you expect tomorrow. Call James Smothers at 784-6601, 784-6601. Reliable Copy Products on Harrison Avenue, just north of Bay High School.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lynn, powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Broadcasting from the CBC Construction Studios. Get ready. The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air.
Live and local.
Weekdays from 4 till 6.
This thing is going to be a financial and cultural disaster.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Whopper, 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 whopper.
The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Keep making noise! Keep making noise!
What is going on, Northwest Florida? You are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with our good friend, James Fife. And we are live here on ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. And this is the CBC Construction Studio that we're broadcasting from. You can give them a call at 850-747-3815. Go to cbcconstruction.com. You can also go look for a career over there, because I believe that they are hiring, and I believe they pay pretty well as well. James, how you doing on this rainy Monday?
Enjoying the rain, man. Kept me slowed down all day because, well, when it's raining, things go slower when you're outside.
When it's raining, it's pouring, especially when it sprinkles for a little bit, then starts pouring, but feels nice and chilly out there.
It just rains again, and then it stops. And
hey,
it just
there you go.
Some more.
And we know how that is being here in Florida, but, you can always use a good dose of rain. You can join us tonight over there at Lone Star Boyle House and Sports Bar. There's going to be crawfish, drink specials, and we're going to be giving away some Atlanta Braves tickets and some ESPN Northwest Florida t-shirts. And, of course, the biggest game of the season. The Madness starts at 6:30, tip-off at 8 p.m., which is kind of crazy to me.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
like a 7:50 tip-off. I guess they're just trying to make it, like, before 9 o'clock on the Eastern Coast.
I mean, right before, right?
Yeah, it has to be.
My goodness. It's, just a little too late.
It's one of those, they're making a decision to try to make everybody happy.
Yeah, try to get eyeballs on it.
I get it. 8:50 on the East Coast, starting at 5:50 on the West Coast. So you're not making either of them happy, because the people on the East Coast are upset. They got to stay up all night.
Right.
The people on the West Coast are upset because it's happening like while they're on their drive home from work. So, I mean, I just don't get it, man. Started at like 8 o'clock Eastern, because the big deal is seeing the end of the game, right?
Yeah.
So why are we like pushing it so, hey, everybody on the East Coast, stay up until midnight, because it's going to be an extended game because it's a championship game.
Right.
So the half times end up being longer. So the commercial breaks end up being longer. So the game ends up being longer. So people on the East Coast are going to just get to stay up until 1 o'clock so they can see what happens.
And there you go. Well, I'll be over there for a little bit. I doubt I'm going to be.
I'll be there for a little bit.
Yeah, I doubt I'm going to be staying till tip off, but we'll figure it out. We do got the giveaways going on, and looking forward to the game, man. Florida and Houston after the Final Four that we had this weekend. Great stuff. At Lone Star Boyle House is downtown on 5th Street off of West Beach Drive. There, right over there by it. So come join us, especially if you want to get some tickets for the Atlanta Braves, Lone Star Boyle House. And, I mean, the reason I'm showing, if Boss Man would have said, hey, show up, and you know, we'll have some burgers or whatever. I don't know. But once he said crawfish, that is when I was hooked. So excited for that this evening. Got a great show lined up for you this afternoon. Thoughts and prayers with Coach Brian Haddad. He won't be with us this afternoon, but prayers with him and his family as he is traveling. He should be back this Thursday to host the Inside Drive, but we will figure that out another day. Just continue to think and pray there for Coach Brian Haddad. David Hayes, James 5 here, Afternoon Underdogs. RJ Starcevic of Motor Stardom will join us at 4:20 to recap the race over there at Darlington. And then at 5 o'clock, we'll have Steve Barnes. And at 5:20, it'll be the PCB Hobby Takeover. As always, on Mondays, we do our best and worst of the weekend. So if you'd like to text that into us, 850-215-6290. Text in your best and worst of the weekend. Obviously, James, you're wearing a Florida Panthers jersey.
Got
That's
my Florida
obvious to
gear
me,
on
to the
today.
people on the radio right now. They can't see you, but if they've been listening to any amount of time here to any of the programs that you've been on, they know that you're a big hockey guy, and yesterday was some big hockey news, and that is Alexander Ovechkin passing Wayne Gretzky, who had 894 career goals, to hit 895. What'd you think of that?
895. That was... So, growing up, man, we'll just go in the Wayback Machine. Growing up, Gordie Howe, greatest of all time.
801, right?
803.
It might be 803, yeah.
Or somewhere in there. But yeah, or, you know, higher, lower end of the 800 spectrum was where Gordie was, Mr. Hockey. So I was always told as a young man that, you know, records can't be broken. And then Gretzky started catching Howe's goals. And everybody's like, well, records will be broken, but that record won't be broken. And now, well, look, Ovi's there, 895. He'll get 900 even. So we'll have a guy with 900 goals. Will he get 1,000? I don't think so. Because, I mean, even if he keeps the pace that he's keeping,
that's like
that's
5
still
more healthy
going
years.
To be, he's putting up 40s right now.
Right.
So, I mean, that's 2.5 more seasons of being totally healthy,
and that's
playing the entire games.
That's more than 2.5 seasons, isn't it, though? Because if you hit 40 for 2 seasons, you'd be at 80. Yeah, it would be 2.5.
It's about 2.5, because you'll have,
all right, what about this? He's past Wayne Gretzky.
Passed.
He probably is not going to be hitting 900 this year.
Nah. He's only got
There's
500.
no record to really surpass. If the Capitals were to hoist the Stanley Cup this year, do you think that he comes back? I mean, obviously it depends on how much he wants to play the game still at that point. But after, you know, getting another Stanley Cup, being the only guy or not the only guy, being that he only played for the Washington Capitals, he's got the goal record. Not saying what is there left for him to do, but if you're ready to kind of spend your time with your family, you think there's a chance he could be making that decision?
I think he stays through the rest of his NHL contract, which I do believe is 2 more seasons.
Okay.
The only reason I see him leaving is if the Dynamo, which is the main team in Moscow, which is the big team in the KHL, is if the Dynamo come calling. Because the Dynamo is where Ovechkin got his career started. Because you can start playing professional hockey in Europe at the age of 15. So he was playing pro hockey at the age of 15 for Dynamo. So if he's going to go, he'll go there. And I still think even after he's done with his NHL contract and he plays out the last 2 years, I still think he does like 1, maybe 2 more years for there so he can say, oh, I retired with the team I started with.
Yeah, I could see that, but I could also, Jaromir Jagr, is he still playing over there in the Czech League?
Yes
and no, because he owns a team and he plays for him, so he probably just plays when he wants to.
And there's a legal aspect going on with his ownership of the team right now, so it's kind of sitting in an up in
because of the fact that he plays?
Area. No other legal issues around.
Those have kind of followed Jaromir Jagr.
Yeah,
but
other legal issues around. So, I mean, he stopped playing, I'm going to say, towards the beginning of this season. He just kind of stepped aside from everything to not be a quote-unquote distraction for the team.
Yeah, no, that's I could see that kind of process playing out, but he could also fulfill his NHL contract and still do that. That's something that when you have a name like Alexander Ovechkin, there's a few loopholes that can keep you in the game for a long time.
And he'll probably be one of the higher paid guys on the Dynamo team, even though he's only going to get like 6 shifts a game or something. You're going to see him for like 10 minutes, but every time he goes out there, you'll hear it.
That was pretty cool, though, being able to witness history as, for me, not growing up watching a ton of hockey, and a lot of hockey history was before I started getting into hockey, so being able to see him surpass that was pretty cool, and it's not necessarily taking the torch, right? He passed him in the record of that, but I don't think anyone looks. It's almost like LeBron, even though there's a large contingency that will take LeBron to be their GOAT for the NBA, which is totally fine if that's your opinion. In this situation, it's not like Alexander Ovechkin is the best hockey player of all time. Everyone would still agree, and probably in the same order, right? Wayne Gretzky, Gordie Howe, Ovechkin, or
I'm more of a Howe guy over Gretzky. Mostly because
of how long he played?
How long he played, the rule sets he was playing under as well. And Howe was a much better defenseman than Gretzky. Now, Gretzky not bad at being on defense, very smart player, being where he needed to be. But Gretzky did, especially when he was Gretzky, and not just like new guy in the league Gretzky, but I am Wayne Gretzky, had a little bit of an allergy to the boards. And he didn't really go into those dangerous areas. But, again, in the 80s, 90s, those guys didn't need to do that. That was not Gretzky's job. He had Marty McSorley to go do that for him, which you don't really see that nowadays. But you don't see guys like Marty McSorley playing anymore because they don't just really pay somebody to just go out there and just beat people for a living. That's a dead and gone art from the team. You'll still see a few guys in the league that do that, but it's basically dead now because scoring is just so prevalent. Fights are not as common anymore.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense to me. Also, if Wayne Gretzky was with the Oilers for a longer period of time, who knows where that goal record is standing at? Because if you look at, Ryan was going over the kind of the timeline of goals in certain periods that they played, like their age brackets that they played, and Wayne Gretzky compared to Ovechkin in the last portion of their season, Ovechkin kind of just kept that same exact pace, and Wayne Gretzky was kind of starting to fade off scoring goals, but was still assisting like no other.
Well, Gretzky for Gretzky and later in the seasons, and Gretzky later in his career, he is not a imposing of a figure as Alexander Ovechkin is. Ovechkin is a just bigger human being in general than Wayne Gretzky. Because if we look at Wayne Gretzky, you don't see a very big guy. He's like, 5'10", 170, 180 pounds soaking wet. I mean, Ovi is a bigger guy. He's 6'2", 6'3", 220, 230, big man. So I can understand why, Ovechkin had and has numbers that work better later in the season. It's a game. It's a very, very physical game. Still a little less physical than it is now, or than it was then. Because, back in the 80s, man, if there wasn't blood on the ice, you just weren't playing it right.
Right. That is a very fair statement, my friend. But it was pretty cool to be able to see that get done before the playoffs start. And there's now that's not even a storyline going into the playoffs, right? And table it for a time when I'm probably not talking about sports anymore, right?
It was about 30 years between Gretzky and Howe, and 30 years between Ovechkin and Gretzky, so maybe
there's
30 years
obviously
from
there's
now.
a chance, and records are meant to be broken. I guess the difference is it would be wild to see that happen based on when you bring up guys like Jaromir Jagr and Brett Hull and see where they stand in the NHL all-time leading scorers, goal scorers, it's crazy to think like the illustrious careers they had, and no one else is really close. We're talking Jagr's like 766 and Hull's 741, I believe.
Yeah, it's crazy that anybody has those kind of goal numbers.
That's a good point.
Because goals are hard to come by. Goals are harder to come by now You know, we can go look at the history of the NHL. There was a period there from like the mid to late 80s to like the mid 90s where just scoring was a very prevalent style in the game. The game has changed a little bit more towards goaltending, I think, has changed a whole lot. Just the gear those guys wear and how good they are and how just regimentally trained they are to just almost robotically go out there, that you're just seeing way less goals because of it. So Ovi getting all those goals in today's standards, that's a thing, man.
It is. We'll see how it plays in the future. And the NHL also, like by decade, kind of goes up in scoring and then down in scoring. Let's make it more defensively. Let's make it, and then we'll kind of cycle out into a more offensive game. And I think that's also it's also a thing in all other sports. And I think that it boils down to how the trickle down, but yet also in sports things trickle up. Right? There's they start at the professional level, and then at the collegiate level, guys are watching how the professionals are playing. That trickles down to high school, which trickles down to the youth sports. But at the same time, you've got the youth sport coaches teaching. You know, they're always trying to find that next advantage to an extent, right? So I think that's one of the beautiful things about sports is the way that from the pros it trickles down, but it makes that full cycle where you can also get changes from the youth sports level, primarily more so high school level of sports.
I would say actually goaltending from the 90s to now has been mostly from the bottom coming up. Because if you look at the style that they were doing in the 80s, 90s, and you looked at a lot of goaltending coaches from back then, you didn't see a whole lot of changes until younger guys came up from Quebec directly with the butterfly style made so popular by Patrick Waugh.
Well, we will see how it plays out. Pretty cool, though, that he was able to do that. 850-215-6290. Looking for your calls and for your best and worst of the weekend. Also, one more thing. Caveman Rick commenting here. He gave us a little numerical breakdown. 8 for Ovi, 9 for one of Gretzky's 99, the number that he wore, 99, and he was there in attendance for that. And then 5, which is the 50th anniversary for the Capitals. And if you use those three numbers, 8, 9, and 5, all together, that is 895. That's a pretty cool little... I wouldn't call it a theory, but just a thought there from Caveman Rick.
The same number of games.
Yeah, that's
to Ovi on goals. Ovi had one more. That was just nuts to me, seeing that number.
Yeah. And, oh, man. It's just wild. And had it not happened last night, which if it didn't happen yesterday, whatever, you can't. But I don't think that the Caps play again until Thursday, so there would have been that whole...
everybody would have been talking about it. Oh, if he could have just had one more, it would have been the same game number.
And we didn't really talk about Friday. Yeah, because was it Saturday that he had the opportunity to net an empty netter? Well,
Friday
didn't
night.
Even get on the ice on Saturday night, or Friday or Saturday night.
Yeah.
I loved that, though, that he did not break or even attempt to break the record on an empty netter. And a heck of a shot, too, from the left circle.
Oh, that was... I understand what he was going for there. Now, he has many, many empty net goals throughout his career. As anybody that plays hockey that long, you're going to get a few. So, I mean, I appreciate his, no, I don't want to go out there for the empty netter. Let somebody else have it. I'm going to get it the next one. And guess what? He got it the next one.
He sure enough did. We are streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. Men's college basketball, again, national championship. That'll be right here on our air tonight. Coverage will be starting at 6:30. But if you have nothing going on, join us over there at Lone Star Boyle House and Sports Bar. We're going to be giving away Braves tickets, ESPN Northwest Florida T-shirts. The madness will be starting over there at 6:30. Tip-off at 8 p.m. All right, we had the final 4 games. And they were good ones. The whole tournament, you know, we were talking about how chalky it is, and it remained chalk all the way through, right? But we didn't have a ton of great games. Do you feel like the final 4 games kind of made up for all of that?
They were exciting games. I would have liked to have seen more excitement coming up the road from the whole tournament. We all want that. I mean, that's the whole reason that we have these tournaments, was we want to see the excitement to them. But I got to say, for having 4 number 1 teams, we got some pretty good games there in the end. That's what we wanted.
Florida taking care of business against Auburn. That was a heck of a game as well. Florida just kind of maintaining to do what they've done in some of their bigger games in the tournament, where they look a little sluggish in the first half and maybe even in the first 17 minutes of the second half, but find a way to come out on top. They get the win there, 79-73 in a tough battle, but Janai Broome headed back to the house. Obviously, that injury to the elbow and to the knee, overextended, was going to play a huge role, but man, Walter Clayton Jr. was on fire. 34 points scored from him and a very nice shooting percentage as well. But then in the other game, and Houston and Duke, what a game that was. I got to the point when they were up 10, when Duke was up 10 very late, where I was kind of looking at my phone more than I was looking at the game. And then I had to log back into the game because, here comes the Cougars. And just what a comeback. So we got a question here from Wright State Chris. He says, was it a Houston win or a Duke choke? Oh, that's it's a tough one. But I feel like when you say that it was solely because of team choke, now there are situations like that. However, that's not giving any credit to Coach Sampson and to the Houston Cougars on what they had to do, the adjustments that they had to make in those final 3 minutes to be in a position where they could win that game, and it wasn't just about Duke choking. More on that at 4:40. We've got to get to the phone lines. We've got RJ Starcevic riding along with the Afternoon Underdogs, and pay attention because the race to Talladega is going to be at 5:40. So stick with us for the full 2 hours. This is the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. Hey, this is David Hayes, and I want to invite you to Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar Monday evening at 6:30 for the national championship and some good old crawfish. The locals know where to go to get their fix for the best seafood boil in town. That's Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar. We'll give away t-shirts and other swag, plus what goes better with championship hoops than crawfish and cold beverages. Monday night, 6:30. Come enjoy the evening at Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar in beautiful downtown Panama City.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday afternoon. The rest of the day, a possibility of thunderstorms and mostly clouds, and 68 with a moderate breeze out of the northwest at 14 miles per hour. For tonight, partly cloudy skies with a gentle breeze at a low near 53. Tomorrow, wind 8 to 12 miles per hour, mostly sunny and a high around 70. For Wednesday, sunshine and a high of 71. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
CBC Construction is looking for a few good men. At CBC Construction, our greatest strength lies within our talented team. Join us and be a part of a dynamic company that values its people. We offer a tremendous opportunity to create a future for your family and the Florida Panhandle. CBC Construction is now hiring. Call us at 850-740-3815 or visit cbcconstruction.com to learn more. CBC Construction. Be part of a winning team.
TK Vandy Roofing and General Contracting is a fifth-generation contracting company based right here out of Bay County. TK Vandy's expertise in commercial and residential roofing, as well as a design-build general contractor, set them aside as a versatile and fresh alternative to achieve your construction needs. Contact TK Vandy Roofing, 850-866-9908, or email support@tkvandy.com. They can't wait to help you.
Panama City, are you ready for March Madness and the best crawfish in town? Head to Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar. Watch 4 games at once, all tournament long, on the largest TV in Panama City. Wear your team gear and score big. Buy a drink, make a basket, win a free drink. Plus, unbeatable specials. 3 pounds of crawfish with corn and potatoes, just $25. Buckets of beer, $12.50. Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar, 320 West 5th Street, downtown Panama City.
We're live and local inside the CBC Construction Studios. You're riding shotgun with the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to need some gas money. The Afternoon Underdogs.
Fill her up, please.
At 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back in the CBC Construction Studio Doghouse, riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. David Hayes here with James Fife. You're tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 and rainy, but still beautiful Panama City, and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. David Hayes and James Fife. And we're getting you guys ready here for the race to Talladega. Make sure that you're listening to the Coach James Hale Show in the morning at 7:15 and 8:15 for the code word of that day. When you hear it, text the code word and your racing name. That's very important. Make sure that you include your name, or else we're not going to know how or who to call you, because you're going to be listening back at 12:40 with the Inside Drive, 5:40 with us, the Afternoon Underdogs. If we announce your name, race to the phones and call 850-215-6290. How long it takes you to call back is your qualifying time. You're going to get some awesome stuff here. 2 fastest qualifying times win the race to Talladega. That's 2 tickets to the Jack Links 500 on April 27th. Plus, the ARCA Menard Series General Tire 200 and the Xfinity Series AG Pro 300 doubleheader on Saturday. And the all qualifiers. If you qualify, if you get on the line with us to have a qualifying time, you are going to win some cool pieces of swag here from this station. Race to Talladega brought to you by PCB Hobby, Panama City Toyota, Buffalo Rock, Hampton Inn on Thomas Drive, and Home to Sweet. So make sure that you are paying close attention. The top qualifying time so far is 2 seconds with Jackson State Jeff, which is going to be tough to beat.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good to get the contest started off. Also pretty good is this young man named RJ Starcevic. He is the creator of the Instagram page Motor Stardom, does a wonderful job keeping up with Xfinity and NASCAR, covering the NASCAR Cup Series and Xfinity Series, and we are very thankful to have him on the air with us each and every Monday. RJ, my friend, how are you?
I'm good. It's almost summertime because it's getting hot down here. I don't know about you guys, but it's heating up down here in Tampa. How are you guys doing?
We're sitting at a nice 66 degrees. There's not any sun out. There is plenty of clouds and some raindrops falling from the sky.
Yeah, I guess you'll have that if it's raining up there. Yeah, we're waiting on the rain. It's been a little gloomy day, but that sun's hitting, that's for sure.
Hey, the sun is hitting. Well, hit us with your best and worst from Darlington.
Yeah, I gotta say my best is, I think I was impressed with Throwback Weekend again. I think it's always so fun to see everybody pay homage to the past, whether, it's sometimes thrown back to 10, 15 years ago, but sometimes they're also throwing back to 30 as well, 30, 50, 70 years ago in the sport. So it's awesome to see all those throwbacks going on. And then I'd say the worst is that, man, the Taylor Gray, Sammy Smith scuffle got resolved, man. I was hoping for some Sophisticos being thrown, but unfortunately everybody's being nice to each other now. I know us here on the Afternoon Underdogs, we like to see some drama take place, in the garage area, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like it's going to pan out that way. So obviously, we do love to see, people settle their differences and those guys being on the same page, but at the same time, it's like, damn, so we're not going to get any more of it.
Absolutely. I don't know which direction I want to go, because I do have some questions about Throwback Weekend. So while we're on it, give me your top 2 paint schemes or wrap schemes from Throwback Weekend.
Yeah, it's sad to say, but Kyle Larson's was one of my favorite, running the Kellogg's, that throwback car. Obviously didn't really work out for them. He wrecked on lap 4 and with 4 laps to go in the race, funny enough. But that was one of the top 2 schemes that I'd say I have. And then my next scheme, that Denny Hamlin scheme was real nice, throwing it back to Carl Edwards. We know how much Carl Edwards has meant to the sport, so that was really cool to see him throw back to them. And I think honorable mention, Ryan Blaney had a really nice paint scheme in that 12 car. Almost won the race, came so close And then your boy Denny Hamlin was right there to take it away from him in that Carl Edwards throwback. No backflip from Denny. They offered it to him, but I guess he wasn't trying to attempt the backflip off the top of the race car.
Yeah, he was absolutely opportunistic in that race as well. Yeah, watching it, I don't really recognize any of, like, were the schemes did they merge them from, it was off of a certain driver's car in a certain year, but then we also add like a futuristic flair to it? Because in the 45 car from Tyler Reddick, I don't think that I'd ever seen that scheme McDonald's wise, where it had kind of the bun, the top side of the bun with the sesame seeds and all that.
Yeah, teams kind of pick and choose how throwbacky they want to go. So you'll have teams that'll do an exact replica of a car from back in the day, just like Kyle Larson. I say exact replica, as close as you can be with the numbers moved forward and everything on the race cars. But they make almost as much of an exact replica as you can. But you got some other teams that kind of just do like inspirations. They'll do an inspiration of a scheme from the past, maybe change the colors to match their sponsors and things like that, because it's really sponsor-driven, these throwbacks. Yeah. The sponsors have to be okay with it at the end of the day. Sometimes it's not even the team. Sometimes it's the sponsor saying, we don't want to, we don't want to do it. We just want to run our basic car that we paid for and not have fun. But yeah, like you said, the Tyler Reddick car, that's not even really a scheme. It's just some people will run throwbacks just to the past. And I've seen it before a few times. I know Ross Chastain. I think Kevin Harvick would do this a lot. Him and Busch over the years would run throwbacks to old cans. They weren't necessarily throwing it back to an old scheme, but old Busch beer cans from back in the day. They would kind of make car designs off of. So still a little cool touch, a little throwback touch, not a scheme, but you are essentially throwing it back. So it is, when you look at the details, there's a lot of different things that teams do, but at the end of the day, it really is sponsor driven.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're chatting with RJ Starcevic, talking all things NASCAR. If you have a question for him, text it in to us at 850-215-6290. It's back-to-back for Denny Hamlin. We started out the season with a whole bunch of drivers with the last name beginning with B winning, and then Christopher Bell ripped off 3 straight. Back-to-back now for Denny. Give us a recap of what went down in the Cup Series race at Darlington.
Yeah, a race that really saw William Byron dominate the whole thing. The most consecutive laps led by a driver to start off a race since 2000, to give you an idea of how long it's been since that's been completed. So an impressive feat by William Byron, but unfortunately get to green flag pit stops. He gets cycled out. They get some cars past him. There's Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell. And all of a sudden, you're behind the 8 ball, and he never was able to make it back to the front when he lost the lead on those green flag pit stops. So it comes down to Tyler Reddick versus Ryan Blaney, who soared through the field. Ryan Blaney's had one of the best long-run cars all day. He gets by Tyler Reddick finally with just 4 laps to go, and what do you know? The caution comes out. Kyle Larson, who was just limping around the racetrack, gets spun out, racing so many laps down. And the caution comes out, sets out an overtime restart, and, man, one of the best pit crews in the business, Denny Hamlin, a guy who had ran really well all day, qualified 3rd, but just wasn't going to win the race. He was a 3rd to 4th place car pretty much all day. His pit crew gets him out front, holds off the field, and he gets the win. So 2 in a row, a little bit different than last week, where he was really able to solidify himself as the best car in Martinsville. Not the best car in Darlington, but certainly the best team. And, hey, a team is still the name of the game in NASCAR. You got to have a good pit crew. Ryan Blaney didn't, but fortunately Denny Hamlin did. So shout out to them. 2 in a row as Joe Gibbs Racing is now already racked up 5 wins to start this year, 3 with C. Bell and 2 with Denny Hamlin.
Wow, yeah, that's how crazy would that be? I think the last time we talked about it, the last time that we had a guy win 3 consecutive races was Kyle Larson. He did it twice in that same season, but it would still be pretty wild to see 3 consecutive winners come from the same team. I wanted to ask you, I think we had about 7, 6, maybe 5 laps left. You got Ryan Blaney and Tyler Reddick battling right before the caution comes out. When Ryan Blaney overtakes Tyler Reddick, it looked like he kind of, I believe it might have been when Denny Hamlin took the lead, but it looked like Tyler Reddick kind of bumped Ryan Blaney, and then the caution came out, but I guess the caution was actually from Kyle Larson. Did you notice anything about Tyler Reddick when he lost the lead?
Yeah, well, he lost the lead. He was fighting Ryan Blaney all he could have, or all he could fight. He was giving him all he had on those older tires, and just did not have as good of a long-run car. He tried to fight Blaney. They just got side by side so tight, so they made a little bit of contact, and Reddick just got really tight, hits the wall, and Kyle Larson behind them just checked up so much from it. So it really was caused by that, where Kyle Larson checked up so much, and then Bubba Wallace right behind Kyle Larson didn't expect him to check up that much, runs into the back of Larson, and Larson spins out to the inside wall, the same wall he hit literally on lap 4 of the race. So, unfortunate for Kyle Larson, but yeah, it was all started by Reddick getting into the wall, and they were just racing hard for the lead. He was trying to keep the lead and just did all he couldn't do it, but it resulted in him getting into the wall and basically leading to that caution. So it was a crazy turn of events. It wouldn't have happened if Tyler Reddick didn't get into that wall, but he did, and it changed the complexion of the race, obviously, the finish, because Blaney goes from probably winning to now finishing in the 5th position, and then obviously we talked about Denny Hamlin getting the victory. So Tyler Reddick was fighting for it, that's for sure, but two years in a row where he loses Darlington and also ends up in the fence in the final laps in heartbreaking fashion.
Well, Denny Hamlin is the owner or co-owner of 23XI, which is who Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace drive for. And also this guy you might have heard of, maybe not. Michael Jordan also owns that team with him. He was there in attendance. How do you think he feels when his team could be winning and then the owner that he owns with ends up winning for another team?
Yeah, probably a little different than Denny Hamlin does, because Denny Hamlin's still racing as a driver, and Denny Hamlin wins, and he's like, well, my car lost, but I won. So I think he's more happy about that. Michael Jordan, he doesn't have any implications of what, Denny Hamlin, he's going to root for his friend and his co-owner, but doesn't really matter to him when Denny Hamlin and the 11 team get a win on the racetrack. But yeah, we've talked about this, about the what kind of goes through the head of Denny Hamlin during a race where you have your own cars out there. How many updates is he getting from his team about those cars? I really don't think any, just because it's Joe Gibbs Racing, and he kind of has to figure those updates out himself. But I'm pretty confident just those few hours, 3 hours, I'm sure he said this before, he is just locked in as a race car driver, and he has to go out there and give all he can to go win that race. And especially at Darlington, if you're worried about so many other things, it's super hard to keep that attrition going on to win that race. So, I think he's going to take that same mindset in the next week at Bristol. And, hey, the spring winner of Bristol last year happened to be Denny Hamlin. So you're talking 3 in a row for your guy here. I like his chances.
I saw the camera pan to him, and I was like, I wonder how Mike feels right now watching that. It's like, man, you could have gave our guy a bump, but instead you find a way for you to get another win. Don't you got enough of them wins yet, Denny?
Yeah, he's always having a good time over there, Michael. So he was laughing it up with Denny and then Ryan Blaney and everything after the race. So I know he's upset, but damn, he knows his team's got a lot of promise. Bubba's fast, Tyler Reddick's fast, and they're going to contend probably for another regular season championship this year.
Yeah, it also threw me off, speaking of that 45 car with the hamburger bun. I don't normally see Tyler Reddick in the McDonald's car.
Yeah, it's rare he runs that. It's usually Bubba, but now that he's come over, even Kurt Busch was able to run it a few times. But I still see that McDonald's as a 23 car, so it's interesting when the 45, I got to get used to it a little bit. I'm still, 45 is the monster car to me. That's the primary one on there. But Tyler, I don't know if Tyler's put McDonald's in victory lane yet. A lot of drivers have a thing where they, can't put certain sponsors in victory lane. So I think that needs to be something that we need to be on the McDonald's watch here, because I don't know if Bubba's put McDonald's. I think he's put McDonald's in victory lane once. So we got to see when McDonald's is going to return to victory lane. Maybe free quarter pounders for everybody. I don't know.
Wait, what does that mean? That some drivers like they don't have the ability to, or the sponsors wouldn't allow? Like there's a conflict of interest. What do you mean?
No, just like some drivers just haven't won with certain.
Okay, you got.
So I think Christopher Bell, earlier in the year he hadn't won with DeWalt, I believe, and a long time, and so they usually make it a point in their interviews, and it's funny to hear that. I mean, obviously all the drivers thank their sponsors, but sometimes they'll, maybe they'll get 3 or 4 wins in a season, but it all happens to be with this certain sponsor over here. Maybe Denny Hamlin, probably doesn't win with Sports Clips often because they weren't on the car as much as FedEx. So it's just kind of a thing. It's kind of just a fun little banter thing of like, all right, we got these guys in victory lane. It's a nice shout out as well to loyal sponsors of their cars.
And that's another question that maybe not a question, just as much as a topic of discussion. And maybe we've brought this up before, but as someone who's watching the races, I'm a Denny Hamlin fan. So you see him in FedEx for so long, but every now and again, then you would see him in the Mavis tires, or you would see him in Sports Clips, and it's to an. I think that I like when they stick with one main sponsor, and so that way at least the color scheme of the car is easy to spot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I certainly agree, and a lot of people feel the same way. I think I think the 11 team's certainly done a good job here, where it's now they've got Progressive as that 18-race sponsorship. If you can get a sponsorship, I mean, over 10 races too, but really over 15 is what you're looking for. We just don't see too much of it nowadays because a lot of sponsors are only going for
a certain amount of races.
Hey, I want to go 2 races, 3 races. And so you see teams like Front Row Motorsports, Stewart-Haas Racing a year ago, more teams in that mid-pack where they can't, it's just this sponsor, this sponsor, this sponsor. Even over at 2311, they have a lot of great sponsors. And it can be seen as good and bad, right? Good, we have a lot of interest. Bad is like, okay, if we start to lose a few, who's really going to ride with us for the whole year? And do we have an image that really helps us stick out at the racetrack every week? So you look at Hendrick, you look at all those cars, right? Napa on the 9, you got Ally on the 48, Exalta on the 24. You have, and obviously Hendrick cars on the 5. You have some different sponsors that come in there, but you know what their main car is. So I think Hamlin, their goal is, I think they did a good job. FedEx was the main sponsor over there. They kept downsizing every single year to where now Progressive, hopefully, they renew their deal in years to come, and they will be that, flagship sponsor for the 11 car. And we've seen it before in NASCAR where it's like, Dale Earnhardt used to drive Wrangler, right? And then it switched over to Goodwrench, and then, you went from the yellow car to the black number 3. And so that's what, the big teams hope to do is just switch from one primary to another. So it's not like, you won't recognize anymore because it's not FedEx, but hey, we want to present this new image to you instead of, a sponsor every single week, which is what the 11 car they wanted to avoid, basically.
RJ Starcevic joining the Afternoon Underdogs here. He is the content creator, the creator of the page on Instagram, Motor Stardom. Driver with low expectations who ended up with an impressive finish, according to RJ.
Ty Gibbs gets the top 10. He finishes in the 9th position. That's a guy we've talked about a few times on the show, like what the heck is going on. So he finally, for the first time all year and for the first time for a good portion of last year, is able to get himself a good finish. A shout-out to him in that 54 team for a 9th place run at Darlington.
And the opposite, driver with high expectations who had a disappointing finish.
I got to go with Chase Briscoe. We talked about Kyle Larson wrecking, but that just happens. Chase Briscoe, unfortunately, they started 4th. He won last year at Darlington in the most miraculous way possible to make the playoffs. They've been on a good streak lately with Joe Gibbs Racing, but the race just did not pan out for them. They finished in the 28th spot. I'm sure they'll rebound at Bristol coming up this week, though.
All right. Give us a quick recap of what went down Saturday evening in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, Xfinity Series was a fun time over there. Those cars slip and slide all around that Darlington Raceway. At the end of the show, I picked guys, right, like Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain, couple guys in the field. They did great. They both finished top 4, but it was Brandon Jones, a guy who was running for Junior Motorsports the last few years, did not do anything. Couldn't even make the playoffs. They were terrible. And he goes over to Joe Gibbs Racing, where he was before, and he's able to get a win at a track he had won at before with Joe Gibbs Racing. But he's had an incredible start to the year. They've been rifling off top 5s, top 10s, and now Brandon Jones, the veteran of the Xfinity Series, right up there with Justin Allgaier, is finally able to put himself back in victory lane. So it was a big weekend for Toyota all around. Big Joe Gibbs Racing weekend there at Darlington Raceway.
Well, coming up next, we've got Bristol. That's where Denny Hamlin won there last year, and he'll be looking for his third consecutive win. So we're going to get into your top three drivers for Xfinity Series. Last week you had Chris Bell, who was the pole winner there in the Xfinity Series, ended up finishing 25th. Ross Chastain 4th, and Justin Allgaier and 3rd in the Cup Series. You had Kyle Larson 5th, Tyler Reddick 14th, and Ross Chastain in 6th. What does your top three in the Xfinity and the Cup Series look like for Bristol, RJ?
Yeah, over there in the Xfinity Series, got to roll with Justin Allgaier in that 7 car. He's going to be very strong. Big short track guy. I always expect him to be up front. Kyle Larson, he's attempting the triple again. We just talked about it, right? Homestead, he missed it just by that one race. By the Xfinity race, he'll be in the Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series races this weekend. And, hey, why not? I think he could certainly get the job done, especially in the Xfinity race. And then I'll go with Taylor Gray. He's looking for some redemption. Just had a strong race at Martinsville. Obviously, he's very good on the short tracks. I think Taylor Gray will certainly be somebody to watch over there in Bristol. On the Cup side, let's do it. 3 in a row. Denny Hamlin, I think he can certainly get the job done. He just won the race last year in the spring, was really good in the daytime. I think he's going to be good again this week. He's obviously been tremendous on short track, so I think he'll certainly be somebody to watch. William Byron has yet to prove me that he is not at that top level. He has been amazing this season, the points leader by a big margin. I'll put him into my 3 there.
William Byron led 243 laps, like the first 243 laps yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, the first 246 laps, which, nobody has done that since 2000, since Jeff Burton at New Hampshire in 2000. To give you a timeline of how long it's been since that's happened.
That's
absolute
amazing.
Insanity. So, I'm certainly looking for him to be competitive. And then I kind of want to there's always a dark horse up there. These short tracks, you never know what goes on. I'll throw a dark horse in there. Give me somebody like, maybe not a dark horse, but give me somebody like Bubba Wallace. Been good on the short tracks lately. They were pretty strong in Martinsville. I'm looking for him to possibly do something at Bristol. The Toyotas are usually good there in the spring as well, so I'm going to throw Bubba Wallace there in the 3.
Let's go Denny Hamlin for a win. Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace finish 2nd and 3rd, and then Michael Jordan is out there on the track trying to throw hands with his co-owner, Denny Hamlin, at that point. All right, well, let's wrap it up here. Final question of the afternoon for you. Give us your high-powered rankings.
Yeah, power rankings, I'm looking at William Byron at 1. He didn't get the win, but, absolutely dominating performance from him, so I have to put him up there. I think he's just been fast every single week. Number 2, Denny Hamlin. You got to put the guy there that's gone back-to-back, regardless of how he did it last weekend. A checkered flag is a checkered flag, and they've been very strong. And we're talking about a team in general. That pit crew is incredible. I got Christopher Bell over there at my 3. We're kind of developing a big 3 here this year. Hamlin, Byron, Bell. I think those are the 3 contenders right there. But who are those 2 guys going to be right under them? I'm looking at Tyler Reddick. I'll slot him in there at my 4. I think he's still been fast week in, week out. I think he's always someone to watch. And how about someone that's always fast week in, week out? Ryan Blaney over there in my 5. I think they've been incredibly strong. Obviously, almost got the win at Darlington. I think they'll be strong at Bristol. But, ladies and gentlemen, I think your top 5 finishers at Darlington are your top 5 drivers in the series right now. So a lot to look out for this weekend at Bristol.
Yeah, not a huge amount of changes there from last week. Last week it was Chris Bell, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Ryan Preece. So Ryan Preece and Kyle Larson have dropped out, but it was still Kyle Larson finishing as high as he did yesterday. That was still a pretty impressive finish for 2 wrecks, right?
Yeah, 2 wrecks, and he was able to get back out on the track. They repaired the car for I don't know how long. I think certainly over an hour. I don't know if it reached 2 hours in the garage.
Wait, that was
what we talked about now?
Hold on. Kyle Larson was in the garage for 2 hours and was still... Is NASCAR.com wrong? Kyle Larson finished in 5th, right?
No, he finished 37th.
37. Okay.
That might be something else.
I was thinking about that when I'm sitting here reading you back the results from last week, or from your picks from last week, and I was like, how did he finish in 5th when he was the reason that this happened? But I didn't double check it, so that's on me. That's why we have you coming on the show, my friend.
Yeah, no, they're messing with you there, man. Yeah, he was in the garage. They repaired it. He got back out there, and then wrecked again in the same wall. So it wasn't a fun day when you're riding around.
Heck no.
You
Whenever I ask you that question, you'd be like, I don't know where you come from, but 37th is never good to get back on the track. Good for the pit crew. Good to even be in the running, no doubt about that, but not the greatest of finishes. RJ, as always, so great to have you on. Who you got in the national championship tonight?
Man, it's a tough game. I gotta ride with Florida. Yeah. I mean, they've been strong. Houston got a huge upset. That game was crazy ending there, but I'm rolling with Florida to get that natty tonight. Shout out UConn getting the women's natty over there. But I got Big FL getting that W tonight.
All right, man. Well, we hope you enjoy it, and we will talk to you next Monday.
Yes, sir. See you guys next week.
Awesome. Great stuff. RJ Starcevic, he also posts his articles on ESPNPC.com, so you can go check out some of his great NASCAR content there. But you can also go to Instagram, follow his page, Motor Stardom. Coming up next, we're going to dive back into that discussion. Was it more of a Houston win or a colossal choke by the Duke Blue Devils? You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida.
Your home for college basketball. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Tonight, it's the NCAA Men's College Basketball Championship.
Houston from behind to the national championship game.
The Houston Cougars taking on the Florida Gators.
The Gators win it. They'll play in the national championship game.
Coverage starts at 6:30. Tip-off at 8:09 right here.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Monday afternoon. The rest of the day, a possibility of thunderstorms and mostly clouds, and 68 with a moderate breeze out of the northwest at 14 miles per hour. For tonight, partly cloudy skies with a gentle breeze at a low near 53. Tomorrow, wind 8 to 12 miles per hour, mostly sunny and a high around 70. For Wednesday, sunshine and a high of 71. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey, this is David Hayes, and I want to invite you to Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar Monday evening at 6:30 for the national championship and some good old crawfish. The locals know where to go to get their fix for the best seafood boil in town. That's Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar. We'll give away T-shirts and other swag. Plus, what goes better with championship hoops than crawfish and cold beverages? Monday night, 6:30. Come enjoy the evening at Lone Star Boil House and Sports Bar in beautiful downtown Panama City.
Do you want to eat like a local? The Local 115 is now open. Local drinks, local sports, and local food. Delicious oysters, crab cakes, steamed seafood, gumbos, salads, paninis, wings, wine, and cold beer. Nothing fried. That's right. No fried foods at Local 115. Amazing local food with an exciting local sports and mural theme. Eat like a local at the Local 115. 115 Harrison Avenue, downtown Panama City.
You found us inside the CBC Construction Studios. From the pros to the future pros, we're your home team station for home team sports. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. ESPN Northwest Florida.
For a second there, I was like, oh, is that the Race to Talladega music? Is that what we're getting ready for? But that kind of sounds like some bumper car music you would hear if they were to raise the BPMs of certain songs, try to get you to wreck a little bit more. Do they still utilize bumper cars anywhere?
I have no idea.
I think at Swampy Jacks they had some.
I haven't done that in quite a long time, man.
How would you feel about it now? I still, there's some... I am young. I'm 34 years old, right? So I don't really think about the repercussions. However, in that aspect, the body just ain't the same, man. The body's not the same. I wonder how I would do with bumper cars. Haven't thrown one back out yet, so let's go give it a try.
Let's do bumper boats. That way, if it sinks, it's even more fun.
There you go. And you know what? Why not just do them right out there in the Gulf of America?
Let's go.
All right, 850-215-6290. Y'all send us in your best and worst of the sports weekend via a text or call in with us as well. We're live from the CBCConstructions.com studio. Y'all head to CBCConstruction.com, and they're looking for good help right now. So go to the website, and you can fill out a job application there, drop you in a resume, and get you a good job potentially. All right, James, we were talking about the Final Four games, Florida and Auburn. Did you have any surprises in that game? Outside of one of the things that, Ryan had brought up was you have halftime in the middle of a game, and that gives you the opportunity for adjustments. When a game is close and you have a team who's got belief in themselves no matter what the score is, sometimes that halftime can be more beneficial to the team that's down than the team that is up, especially when you have kind of upperclassmen with Auburn. They're a well-seasoned team. They had a lot of older guys on their team. Did they, and I would hate to think that there's no way that this could have been the case from a Bruce Pearl-led team who's been through the struggles that they've been through this year, but there's no way that they came out of that locker room for the second half with too much confidence, or was that the case?
I don't think it was too much confidence for Auburn. Florida's a good team. Auburn's a good team. They've already seen each other twice this year, right? Because playing in the SEC. So we got a third competition between those two teams. You know each other by then.
I believe that was only the second time that they
only
played.
The second time this year?
They didn't face off against. They didn't take each other on in the SEC championship. And you don't play every team twice in the SEC. You play a few teams twice. Yeah, you can't anymore
just because we've got so many teams in the league now. I guess you can't play everybody twice anymore. Man, I'm getting old. Oh, I'm getting old. But Florida, great team. One kid, 34 points?
Yeah, Walter Clayton Jr.
Walter Clayton Jr. lighting it up by himself.
Right.
Took that second half and just said, nah, we're doing this, son. And he did. I don't think it was that much of a difference at halftime. What was the difference at halftime?
8 points.
8 points. So a little bit of a difference.
Right.
Not a huge difference.
Yeah, like you can't be, I don't think you can be overconfident. I haven't heard anyone say that. That was kind of, we're just top of the head conversing here about one of the, is there anything that leads to it outside of Florida? Just, man, when you're back, I saw so many people saying, they haven't been a good team this tournament. Dude, it was a close game against UConn. Texas Tech was not as slouched, and as Houston kind of proved and pointed out with the Big 12, they're a very tough conference to begin with as well. Texas Tech was a tough team. They outlasted them as well. Was there some mistakes on behalf of Texas Tech and the Red Raiders? Absolutely. But what it comes down to when you're battle tested is taking advantage of the slip-ups of other teams.
Oh, absolutely. That's how you win basically any game. You win because you can wait for the other team to make that mistake.
Right.
You see it in every single sport. That's why you'll see guys in baseball. How often do you swing at the first pitch in baseball? According to, nowadays, sabermetrics and everything, never. You watch that first pitch.
I mean, that's kind of how I think it was a case-by-case situation, and I'm not talking about professional level baseball. And when I say professional, I mean low A. If you have a contract that's affiliated with Major League Baseball, you're playing professional baseball at that point, right?
Absolutely.
Right. It's a much tougher lifestyle to live that, and especially if you never make it to the show, right? But you're still a professional baseball player. My level is high school. With that being said, I think there's some players who if they get to two strikes now, they're all in their head. There's other players who are a lot more confident with two strikes, and you want to see as many pitches as possible. So I think that's kind of a case-by-case situation, but I think analytically speaking, 100% correct. You want to go ahead and take the first pitch and see where it goes from there. But, man, if you see that fastball coming straight down the middle, what do you do, James? Take a hack.
If I'm looking for it, I'm taking the hack.
Exactly. With Houston and Duke, man, it's hard for me to just say, as we left off in the opening segment, that was all Duke and choking. What if Cooper Flagg gets that rebound, there's not a foul called? You know?
Then you have a different
possibly a different outcome in that game. There's a few things that kind of, I wouldn't even say necessarily stand out outside of the resilience of a Big Ten battle-tested team. In fact, or a Big 12 battle-tested team In fact, Wright State Chris with a fair comment here. He says, Big 12, tougher league, and Houston was challenged more throughout the year. It was Houston's schedule that helped them win, and Duke's schedule caused them to lose. I don't have a strong stance on that because I think that we're seeing over and over again that your schedule does play a role in getting you ready. But at the end of the day, the better team is. I mean, if they play this game 2 or 3 times. Does Houston...
I mean, if you play this like the NBA, you got to beat a team 4 times in a row. I don't see it
I think you
happening.
get a really good series. I think you get a great series, at least going 6 games between Houston and Duke and Florida and Auburn. The thing is I think that Duke was the better team. It's just tough for me the way that Duke... Okay, if the ACC, if this came down to conferences, then why did Duke smack the junk out of Alabama by 20 points? You know? And the Big 12 wasn't really talked about maybe as much as they should have been because it was all about, man, how many teams is the SEC going to get into the tournament? They have an opportunity to kind of put the cherry on the top tonight with the Florida Gators, who were the SEC champion in the tournament as well. We'll talk more about that with Steve Barnes when we get back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Hour 2 up next.
ESPN Northwest Florida presents The Race to Talladega. Join Coach Hale mornings at 7:15 and 8:15 to enter. Then at 12:40 and 5:40, listen for your name to be called. If we announce your name, race to the phones. How long it takes you to call 850-215-6290 is your qualifying time. The 2 fastest qualifying times win a pair of tickets to the Jack Links 500 from PCB Hobby, Pepsi, Panama City Toyota, and your racing station. ESPN Northwest
Good
Florida.
evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Monday. Partly cloudy tonight with a wind out of the north-northwest around 10 miles per hour and a low of 53. Tomorrow morning, look for a gentle breeze and mostly sunshine with a temperature near 64. The afternoon and evening, a high around 71 and sunshine. Wednesday, hot with a high of 71 and sunshine. This weather forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hewitt Tire and Auto. Call 850-769-7323. Your certified AAA service center and hometown towing. Visit them online at HewittTire.com on Airport Road in Panama City. 850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and hometown towing.
Need a tow? Call Billy at Hometown Towing, 850-265-1562.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likas with today's Car Clinic Minute. Ah, romance. You, your honey, and your SUV out for a night on the town. During dinner, she steals your heart. Ah, but wait, that's not all that's stolen. When I come back, I'll give you the facts. Could be as you woo one love tableside, someone else is busy with your other love curbside. Yes, 1.6 million vehicles are stolen each year. That's 1 every 20 seconds. Top targets? SUVs and sports cars. And if they're under 5 years old in a city over 250,000, bullseye. So if you're an LUV with your SUV, protect it from unwanted cupids with warning or immobilizing devices, tracking systems, and good old common sense. I'm Bobby Likas. Like us, you'll love us.
Do you want to eat like a local? The Local 115 is now open. Local drinks, local sports, and local food. Delicious oysters, crab cakes, steamed seafood, gumbos, salads, paninis, wings, wine, and cold beer. Nothing fried. That's right. No fried foods at Local 115. Amazing local food with an exciting local sports and mural theme. Eat like a local at the Local 115.
115 Harrison Avenue, downtown Panama City.
Your attention, please. ESPN Northwest Florida reminds you it's the law. It's the law. When there's a double red flag, stay out of the water, stick your toes in the sand, grab a cold drink, and listen to live sports.
Swung on miss, strike 3.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Double play!
WGSX Lynn Haven WVLQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota.
And that's out of the ballpark.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Go home for college basketball. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Tonight, it's the NCAA Men's College Basketball Championship.
Houston from behind to the national championship game.
The Houston Cougars taking on the Florida Gators.
The Gators win it. They'll play in the national championship game.
Coverage starts at 6:30. Tip off at 8:09 right here.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Broadcasting from the CBC Construction Studios. The mission.
Your mission, should you decide to accept it.
Save the panhandle from boring cookie-cutter radio. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes along with James Fife. We're live from the CBC Construction Studios. Go to cbcconstruction.com or give them a call, 850-747-3815. They are looking for employees. You can also join ESPN Northwest Florida tonight. We're on location at the Lone Star Boyle House and Sports Bar. There's going to be crawfish, drink specials, and Atlanta Braves ticket giveaway. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida t-shirts and the biggest game of the season between Florida and Houston. Now coverage will start right here on our air tonight at 6:30. Tip-off at 7:50. That'll be at the Lone Star Boyle House downtown on 5th Street off of Beach Drive downtown there. Steve Barnes is on with us now. He's the senior writer for the RebelWalk.com. Steve, how's the weather over there in Pensacola?
In my part of town, we barely got rain, believe it or not, but in the north end of the county where my sister lives, they got flooded. So I just got lucky. I dodged a rainy bullet.
Hey, dodged some big old raindrops. Yeah, it's been off and on today. It's looked like rain all day. It's currently raining right now. Not a very heavy rain here off of Navy Boulevard, that is, but in other parts of the town, you know how it goes, man. I'll talk to some friends, and they'll be like, it's pouring right now. I'm like, it's kind of nice over this way right now, but hey, still feels good.
I'm not kidding. I've seen this. I have seen rain in my front yard and clear in my backyard.
I'm sure James is back there saying, mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I'm sure he has because he's got like 2 million acres or whatever, but I don't know. Sometimes on those summer days, especially when you can kind of see that wall of rain, you can see, like, I've never seen it in the same yard, but I've been in the middle of rain and seen where it's not raining before. So pretty cool stuff, how nature works, that is. But Steve, best and worst of the weekend, as we do here on Mondays. What was your best and worst of the weekend?
Okay, I got 2 bests.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to come down to 2 words: resiliency and integrity.
Okay.
Resiliency. The Troy women's basketball team, and this is going to sound strange, and I don't want to, do a Cory Booker filibuster on this and take up 25 hours, but they lost the women's NIT championship game. But let me tell you about the week they've had. This is what's happened since I talked to you last, Dave. Monday. Now, you know where Troy, Alabama is. You've been there.
Right.
Monday, they play in Fargo, North Dakota, and beat North Dakota State. Wednesday, they play in Normal, Illinois, and beat Illinois State. Saturday, they have to play at Buffalo. Now, these are 3 actual road games. These aren't neutral sites. These are road games. But the trip to Buffalo is, tell me how you would handle this. First, the airline lost their luggage. Second, they're in a team meeting at the motel, and they're told, you have to come over here and get in this hallway because a tornado just hit 2 blocks away.
Oh.
Then Saturday, they're getting ready to go to the arena for the ball game, and they're about to get on the bus, and they realize that thousands and thousands and thousands of people are in the street because it's the hands-off protest march in Buffalo. So they can't even get out of the parking lot for a while.
What is the hands-off protest?
Get there. Excuse me?
What is the hands-off protest?
Oh, the protest against what's going on with Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, happened all over the country.
Yeah, man. my bad on that. I saw James Fife mouth the words, and I was like, oh, had I known it was even politically driven, I wouldn't have even went that way. It kind of goes to show you how much I pay attention to that side of the world these days. I laid it down around 2016. Not saying that it doesn't matter. I just don't like getting up into arms with people.
I do not disagree with that. Now, once the team got to the arena, they got up by like 16 in the first half, but they just hit the wall. After that week, wouldn't you get a little tired too?
Yeah.
And they were 4 points away from winning the NIT title. Second year in a row, Troy's been in the WNIT National Championship game. So that's the good news. They're a pretty good team. Bad news is Coach Chandra Rigby, she's won a national championship in JUCO at Pensacola State. Now she's taken Troy to 2 title games. Somebody's going to scoop her up soon.
Yeah, time will be running out on that. More than likely. But I was going to say, hopefully, the third time is not necessarily the charm, and they're playing in the women's March Madness tournament and not NIT.
That's going to. I've got a question for that. I'm going to lead in after my second.
Okay.
My second is integrity. Ole Miss quarterback Austin Simmons turned down 2 offers of $8.5 million in NIL money from Texas and Florida State to stay at Ole Miss. And his reason was, I committed to Ole Miss. I'm staying here to bring my school a championship. That's integrity. And you don't really see that from a lot of 19-year-olds.
Oh, man. I'm not trying to bring up like a philosophical discussion here because I love that. And I kind of wish that we're seeing that more. But everyone's looking at these kids anyways, right? And like, what is integrity? Is doing what you do, holding up your like character, values, and morals when no one is looking. So I mean, good on him though. Good on him to do that, no doubt. I guess maybe I'm overthinking here. Like, is integrity? It's almost like loyalty.
Yes.
But I guess loyalty and integrity merge.
Loyalty is you're loyal to something. Integrity is you're loyal to yourself.
So he's loyal to himself and his commitment, and that's his integrity, and then also loyal to Ole Miss too. Like, man, how about who is he? Is he even scheduled to be a top 2 quarterback for Ole Miss? I don't know what the depth chart's looking like.
Oh, he's starting.
Starting? Okay.
Yeah, he backed up Jackson Dart last year, and against Georgia, when Dart went out with an ankle injury against Georgia, and Georgia was I think they're still number 1.
That was early on in the season, like late September?
That was about week 5.
Okay.
Week 5 or week 6. And he came in the game and led Ole Miss on a 80-yard drive against Georgia for a touchdown.
Well,
and the other thing about this kid, he was a pitcher for the baseball team. He's a left-handed reliever who throws 95 to 100, and he hurt his elbow in one of the games and had to come out. And he made the decision right then, is like, no, I'm not going to mess my arm up playing baseball to hurt football because I'm on a football scholarship. And so he left baseball. And I think he might have had a pretty good future in baseball. So, I mean, he's putting his commitment ahead of his future, really.
Well,
so, you got to respect that.
No, you have to. I mean, in today's age, and it's hard to fault the youngins when I say that like I'm not, I'm just about 10 years older than them and whatnot. But the way that the world is when they were introduced to this world is in a much different space and integrity and duty and honor and all of those things aren't preached as much to these kids when they're young and as much as it is go get the bag and whatever it takes to get the bag, do what you got to do. And also there wasn't these opportunities at the level of college football like they were in the past. So that is a very stand up of Austin Simmons. And as a quarterback, if you're Lane Kiffin, it's one thing if we're hearing about a defensive lineman no one knows doing that. Still good on that young man. But when it comes to the position of quarterback in college football, there's nothing more valuable, right? Like when we're talking about NIL valuation.
First, he's won over that locker room. Now his teammates know this guy's going to lead me. Second, he's young, but he's very mature. He graduated high school after his sophomore year. So he missed his junior and senior year of high school to go to Ole Miss. So when he should have been a junior in high school, he's out there in practice going against an SEC defense. So he's pretty mature.
He's been able to progress at a very high rate. And that's huge. I mean, you're replacing Jackson Dart, who's going to be an NFL quarterback. Also, I think that does point to Lane Kiffin and his ability to not just recruit, but re-recruit and show these guys, look, the goal is to win an SEC championship. The goal is to win the whole championship, but we're a family here in Oxford and gets the guys to stick around a little bit longer, huh?
Well, I still think, instead of recruiting ratings, they need a retention rating. How did you recruit your own roster to get kids to not go somewhere?
Steve, I think that you hit the nail on the head right there. That would be something nice to see on On3 or 24/7 or one of the many sites that tell you what the recruiting rankings are. I think we would love to see some retaining rankings, especially when we have the transfer portal rankings as well.
Yes.
So
now my words of the week: Texas and Florida State. You're offering this kid $8.5 million to come to your school. He was never in the portal. That's called tampering. Nobody can ever say nobody tampers in the portal. There's two examples of it right there.
Yeah, right there. That's scratching the tip of the surface.
About Texas. Texas knows something about Arch Manning. He's either going to be one and done and gone to the NFL next year, or he's going to be one and transfer. Because you're not going to pay a kid $8.5 million to sit on your bench for 2 years.
Yeah. No, What do you think is more likely? He's one and done and on to the NFL, or one and done and transferred? If I had my choice of the matter, what I think will play out, just being off of the fact that Arch Manning wasn't the quarterback when he stepped in for Quinn Ewers last year, some of the struggles that we saw from the Texas offense late in the year. Now, I get it. Sark wants to stick with this guy. That could be the overall case. However, I feel like Sark is more about winning than being loyal to your quarterback to an extent, right? Because it's a team. I didn't promise you this position or anything to come over here as much as be a part of the team. If Arch Manning really had that sauce, if you will, I think Quinn Ewers would have lost his job last year. There was nothing that was overly impressive about Quinn Ewers last year.
If Texas has a successful year and Manning puts up some numbers,
he's going to the NFL. Yeah.
If they struggle and the fans get on him, I think he just leaves.
Then where does he head next? Is it Ole Miss? Is it Tennessee?
Not Ole Miss, because they've got Austin Simmons.
I know. I was kind of just being facetious naming off that. Where did Arch go?
Ole Miss?
It would depend on the need. Some school will need somebody to step in, and we don't know who that is yet.
Well, that's easily going to be a dominating storyline of the college football season. And, I used to say all the time, can't wait for it to be back. But as soon as it gets here, next thing you know, you're looking at 2026. So I like to try to, as best I can, let the cake bake. Any takeaways from the Final Four? Florida and Auburn, Houston and Duke. Which game did you have a closer eye on?
Since we're transitioning to basketball, my question I told you to remind me of.
Right, yeah.
Troy's women goes to the WNIT championship game. Troy's men goes to the NCAA tournament and gets beaten first round. Which would you rather be? Would you rather be the one and done in the NCAA, or would you rather go deep in the NIT?
That one's. We're gonna let James answer this question. It's a perfect topic for James. He has a stronger tie to the NIT this year than maybe he has in years past.
I mean, I was a big watcher of the NIT this year because I was watching University of Tennessee Chattanooga, and they won the championship. Go Mocs.
Go Mocs.
My dad was a statistician there from 70 to 74, so that was my big draw to it. Now, if I have to choose where I would go, I got to say I want to go to the big boy tournament. It's more eyes, it's more ears. That's recruiting for you as a coach. That's recruiting for you as the school. It's just such a much bigger thing to be a part of than the NIT. Now, I'm one of those guys, I don't, sneeze at the NIT. I don't call it the not invited tournament because there's still a lot of really great basketball played in the NIT. So more props to the dudes that go to it and don't drop back out of it saying, no, it's not the real tournament, because it's still, again, you still got eyeballs to you. You're still going. So...
And you're still playing.
Both are a good thing, but if I got my choice, I'd rather do the one and done in the big boy.
Same
exact. The men got one game, the women got 5.
Yeah, I mean, there is that maybe. I think that's a case by case individual fan. I would also say that people who went to said school would probably prefer the more amount of games in whatever tournament it may be. I think in the world of fandom that we have these days, that it also depends on the level of your school. If you're Troy, if you're Chattanooga, and the likelihood of where you're going to get to in the tournament is not very far, then, and if you really like watching college basketball, like if you're a bigger fan of the college baseball or basketball team than maybe you are the football team, I think that you take the NIT. I think in the world of fandom that we're at today, where it's like, I don't think there's as many eyes on the NIT than when I was even growing up. You know what I mean?
Well, at the end of the day, in Trojan Arena, there are going to be 2 banners hung up. One's going to say men's basketball NCAA tournament. One's going to say women's basketball WNIT runner-up. So they're both going to have the banners up in the arena. So that's going to help recruiting.
If I was a player, though, give me the opportunity to play more games.
Yes. Well, I made this point years and years ago. There were 2 when I was at Troy in the early '90s. There were 2 running backs coming out of, I think it was Enterprise High School, and one of them came to Troy, and one of them went to Memphis. At the end of their time, the kid who went to Troy, since they were 1AA and they went to the playoffs every year, Memphis never went to a bowl game. So the kid that went to Troy basically had an extra season because he played all those extra games. And I think when Troy was 1AA, they used that as a recruiting tool. And a lot of kids said, yeah, why am I going to go to Southern Miss when I can come here and play extra games? So...
And these days, that might even kind of resurface a little bit with JUCO athletes possibly not losing, depending on how it all ends up playing out. Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt quarterback.
Thank you, Diego.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We'll see. I believe right now it's still on a case-by-case basis, but I think it's a...
I think they're going to have to call that the Diego rule.
I would like that. The only thing that I dislike about it, Steve, and we'll table this for next Monday because I'm out of time, is I think that it, as great as it is, it still hurts the high school athlete and all the work that they're putting in for 4 years. So I don't know, man. It's one of those. There's a lot of pros and cons on both sides, but I'm out of time. Steve, enjoy the game tonight. As always, so much fun chatting with you. What else you got?
I'm sorry I went all Cory Booker on you, but hey, this weekend, college baseball, number 5 Tennessee at number 6 Ole Miss.
Oh, let's go, man. Y'all had a pretty good weekend. Alabama had a tough weekend against Auburn, but Auburn's shooting up into the rankings, and we'll see how the rest of
6 of the top 7 are SEC teams.
Oh, Well, let's see. If they can have a tournament like how they have had in basketball this year, it kind of just keeps the SEC just keeps on maintaining. We need to just get back to that championship status in college football. Steve Barnes, ladies and gentlemen. Steve, we'll chat with you next week.
All right. Love you guys like fried chicken.
Hey, absolutely. Don't get no better than that unless you want some crawfish. Come see us down there at Lone Star Boil House. Coming up next, it's the Takeover, the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd and Julia. Keep it locked in here to ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Monday. Partly cloudy tonight with a wind out of the north-northwest around 10 miles per hour and a low of 53. Tomorrow morning, look for a gentle breeze and mostly sunshine with a temperature near 64. The afternoon and evening, a high around 71 and sunshine. Wednesday, hot with a high of 71 and sunshine. This weather forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
CBC Construction is looking for a few good men. At CBC Construction, our greatest strength lies within our talented team. Join us and be a part of a dynamic company that values its people. We offer a tremendous opportunity to create a future for your family and the Florida Panhandle. CBC Construction is now hiring. Call us at 850-740-3815 or visit cbcconstruction.com to learn more. CBC Construction. Be part of a winning team.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
You're home for college basketball. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Tonight, it's the NCAA Men's College Basketball Championship.
Houston from behind to the national championship game.
The Houston Cougars taking on the Florida Gators.
The Gators win it. They'll play in the national championship game.
Coverage starts at 6:30. Tip off at 8:09 right here.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Now, we're live and local inside the CBC Construction Studios. Who was hired? Who was fired? Trades, drafts, and playoffs. We're talking about it.
That trade, when it was made, was the right trade.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, right here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
The race to Talladega is going to be announced. The winner is going to be announced, or the qualifier, rather, at 5:40. So make sure you keep it locked in here to ESPN Northwest Florida. If you don't hear us talking about it at 5:40, trust me, we have not talked about it before then. So stay locked in after 5:40. I'm David Hazel with James Fife. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. And as always, on Mondays at 5:20, we've got the PCB Hobby Takeover for you. We've got Todd and Julia in the building. Todd, what's going on?
Happy Monday, everybody.
Oh, yeah, man. Hey, I love that you can smile through the rain.
You have to, and it is raining because we got to load up all kinds of stuff tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I checked the weather, though, so I think the rain is going to end here in an hour or two. But we got all kinds of stuff going on today and this week. Julia is going to kick it off with telling us about what is up at the shop and what you can look forward to. I do know this. It is the second Saturday of the month coming up, which means it's trade day / Super Saturday. So Go for it, Julia.
A perfect opportunity, too, right on top of that, because if you do have people coming in from out of town being spring breakers and they're bringing their collection, now you can get some stuff that maybe you
Everyone
don't see.
is getting the deal.
Even though PCB Hobby's got it all. Let's just be real. So
yeah, let's go.
So as usual, on Thursday, we have Lorcana and One Piece. On Friday is Magic. As Todd mentioned, Saturday is going to be Super Saturday. So basically, we do some deals on sealed product. If you spend a certain amount, you get to spin the big wheel for some different prizes, some store credit. We also have that Saturday as the deadline to submit for PSA. So if you want to bring in your cards to get graded, we will submit those for you. And then Sunday is our Pokemon League as usual. We don't have a whole lot coming out for TCGs. We do have still have the new Pokemon set Journey Together in stock, and that one's hot. So it's hard to find other places. So definitely come on in, check that out. There is a Magic set out right now. It's called Tarkir Dragonstorm. So that is out. That is hot. We had, oh my gosh, so many people come for the pre-release for that. It was incredible. The shop was just filled with people. So that was going well. As always, you can catch us on eBay Live at PCB Hobby. We are going to be streaming. Todd is going to talk a little bit more about it, but we are going to a Comic-Con this week. So we're going to have some fun things going on there. And as always, stay up to date by following us on Instagram and Facebook at PCB Hobby.
Absolutely. So basically, C2E2 is this week. So it's Chicago at the McCormick Center, McCormick Place in Chicago. And basically, it is probably the second or third largest con. There's four big ones. There's San Diego, C2E2, New York, and MegaCon. Went to MegaCon in February, as you all know. And so this is the second large one of the year. And it's in Chicago, and it's called C2E2. So we will be leaving this week to go to that. We will be streaming Wednesday from the Airbnb, and then we'll of course have our artist streams on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So Thursday we have Sajjad Shah, which we did an Amazing Spider-Man 1 cover with, which is super awesome. It's out. We're going to be doing.
It's such a gorgeous cover.
It's gorgeous, gorgeous cover. And we've got the Trade and cover A and cover B, the Trade and the Virgin. So for you comic book guys out there who don't know, a Virgin cover means it does not have the tag on the front that says Amazing Spider-Man or Marvel. It's basically just the image of the cover. And then the Trade is the one that actually has where it says Amazing Spider-Man, what issue number it is, and everything on the front. And so we've got that. We also have a G.I. Joe for Sajjad Shah, which is really amazing as well, and several other things we're going to be doing. So that's Thursday night in Chicago. We'll be doing that live. And then on PCB Hobby, eBay Live. And then John Jang, who's another very popular artist. We have several things with him. That's going to be Friday night. And then we're going to have Matthew Waite on Saturday night. And then Saturday during the day, we're going to be live streaming from the con. And so that's going to be fun because we're going to have all the con exclusives and all the pickups that we will have gotten Thursday and Friday. And then Sunday, we'll have a normal stream from up in Chicago. So we got a lot planned, a lot going on. There's a whole team of us going, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's happening this week. And then shortly after that, we get back next week. And then the next week after that, we go to CSNS. CSNS is a large coin show called Central States Numismatic Society, CSNS. And so the large coin show in Chicago.
I was about to say,
in Chicago.
Lines up.
So, yeah, might as well stay up there, right? So I'll be traveling back up there for that as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So we have a lot of good things planned. We're going to have a lot of new coin inventory and a lot of new stuff for the streams. Obviously, at the shop, we bring inventory back as well. We buy new collections all the time, so we'll have a ton of inventory for that. And again, if this is the first time listening and you're somebody not from this local area but want to come visit the shop, we have coins, sports cards, comic books, and TCGs, which is trading card games. Available in the shop, and tons of it, and pretty much anything and everything that you'd want. So it's going to be a lot of fun. As far as sports cards go, I'm not actually sure what's releasing this week.
So there is some. I do know Heritage is coming out soon. We just placed the order for it, so that's coming out in the pipeline probably in the next 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
Other than that, nothing else really stood out to me. It was just,
there's a couple. You guys just need to come check out the shop. I mean, honestly, we've got so much inventory there. It's ridiculous and crazy. And I might even bring a couple sports cards up to Chicago to do some trading and stuff like that, because there's some people who like that stuff up there too. So it'll be a lot of fun. But we're getting all of our stuff together, and we're going to have a good time. So anyways, that's what's going on in the world of PCB Hobby right now.
And Saturday, if you haven't been to PCB Hobby, Saturday will be a really cool day to go check. Any day would be a great day to go check out PCB Hobby. But Saturday, you have the opportunity to interact with other card collectors as well. And that's like the best part of being in a hobby, right? Is learning about other people and how they love the same thing as you, but how they do it differently, right? Those little nuances are always so cool to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and of course, our staff is really knowledgeable too. So, if you have like any questions about what the best way to protect your cards or things like that, I mean, our staff knows all of that too.
Absolutely, yeah, it's great. So, all right, what kind of questions you got for me today?
All right, no buy, sell, or trade this time. 2 of these are coin related, and then 2 of them are card related.
Gotcha.
All right. One is dealing with the future of cards, but we'll get to that. If you could go back in time to any era to collect coins firsthand, what would it be?
Oh boy, that is a tough one. There are so many good coins, in so many different times. I mean, it would be so cool to get some of the very first United States coins from like 1796, 1793, stuff like that. But you really have to think through that and say, first of all, what would you do and how would you acquire those assets if you were to travel back in time? So I think the smarter play would be the turn of the century, the late 1800s, early 1900s, and very high examples of a lot of the different key dates and things that
like Morgan dollar,
the 1909 SVDB penny, high grades of those, and there's a lot of key dates in the early 1916 Standing Liberty Quarter, very, very expensive and high grade. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars and stuff like that. So I'd love to have examples of all that in super high grade. So I would say the turn of the century.
There you go. That's a great answer as well. I was curious as to, it's so hard to think about that. Obviously for me, like not knowing as much about it, but with you, it makes it even more difficult because of all the knowledge that you have about
it. It's a huge range, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, well, would he go like back to Greece or something and get
I wouldn't go back to those type of times.
Well, I mean, we got a collection of, I think it was Roman coins.
Yeah, we did.
But I don't know those aren't super valuable,
they're
are
not,
they?
and they're not super rare. You'd be surprised. People still are finding caches of those, and a cache is basically like a bottle.
Right.
So it's supposed to be a pottery piece
that
has a bunch of coins in it and stuff like that. And they unearth that stuff all the time in Europe still. So you'd be shocked. There's a lot of examples out there, which means they're not worth thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But there's some that are worth hundreds.
They're still cool,
and they're really
definitely
neat,
cool,
especially if you find high grade examples.
Right. See, and that for me, Halloween when I was over 2 years ago, I believe, when I was over and y'all were doing a stream. Those were the ones that stood out to me. Y'all had really cool like merges of sports and coins. Larry Bird I think was one of them that y'all were streaming off there. But the ones that caught my eyes were the really old antique coins from
ancient coins.
Yeah, it's like okay, man. Jesus could have touched this way.
Right, exactly.
It's true.
My next question would be: Are there any myths or misconceptions about coins that drive you crazy?
Yes, 100%. That's an easy one.
I have one too.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna let her go first.
I think we're gonna have the same one.
Yeah, probably.
The $2 bill.
That's
my
not
thing.
the same. Not the same.
I've got like 20 of them things.
No, people. I feel like from a young age, I was such a killjoy because I'd be like, yeah, that's not worth anything.
Yeah.
Because I thought like it was such a novelty, something so cool that it was super rare, and like people like collected them, and I was like, oh, they've got to be worth something. And then of course,
that's a good one.
Of course, old Captain over here was like, no, it's not worth anything
So
other than
everybody
$2.
everybody has 1976 and 1995 $2 bills, and it's like, guys, they're $2 bills. You can find them at the bank still. There's nothing rare about them. The Red Seal 1963s and 53s are a little bit better, but that doesn't annoy me.
I've always real quick though on the $2 bill. I always collected them. Not even collected them. I've got like 10, 15 of them or so. But it's because when I was young, my papa would always give me it too.
They made it special.
It has nothing to do with like the value of it. Yeah, exactly.
My biggest one is error coins. Everybody thinks for some reason that an error on a coin makes it so much more valuable, and that is just not true. There's very few recognized actual error coins that we would consider errors. And what an error means is not a one-off. One-offs are not looked at or conceived of as errors. And so it's annoying that they probably get 5 calls a day. Well, I got this coin and it's got this, piece of metal over here on the side that's not supposed to be there. Maybe the only one ever, but it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to collect that. They're not
in the red book.
It's got to be in the red book. Yeah. And so a 1972 double die, a 42/1 mercury dime, things like that. 1955 double die penny. Those are what's considered. They were an actual error, and so I do not consider mess ups errors. You know what I mean? Die mess ups, problems like that. We don't get it. And what's funny is if you're really going to go down that path, then you really need to understand coins. They have books out for die pairings of cap bust half dollars, seated dimes, all kinds of different Morgan dollars, what's called VAMs, that are all kinds of different strikes based on what die was used. Are those all errors? Well, no, they're just different dies that got used. So there might have been something filled in the die, or there might have been some scratches in the die, or something like that. Doesn't make them error and valuable necessarily. So I get very perturbed by the whole error scene. So I just tell people, and this is unfortunate, and you're going to hear it from me if you come to the shop and I'm there. I'm going to say, we don't want to buy errors.
Yeah, I think we briefly talked.
About this, right?
Well, last week, because that's the only anything that I ever say that maybe makes me sound like not even knowledgeable but aware. I learned that from you right here on the Afternoon Underdogs. No doubt about that. Digital cards, NFTs. Are those things here to stay? Will they be a fad? What do you think about that?
Fad. I think it's a fad. I've had many people talk to me about it, and it's a tough one. It's a tough one because could you relate it to a Bitcoin? Could you? Maybe. And if you did relate it to a Bitcoin, I didn't buy Bitcoin when it was 200.
Yeah.
Am I stupid? Or was I smart? Or was, what? How do you really know what is or isn't? And you're talking about NFTs, which are kind of like one-on-ones in a way. How many rare one-on-one sports cards are there out there that are physical? Well, they've now produced a whole lot of one-on-ones.
Yeah.
So it's kind of worn off a little bit. So I believe that it's going to kind of wear off, in my opinion. Now, is it cool? It's still kind of cool, and technology is really neat.
Well, but you can sit there and screenshot an NFT, and then it's not your own anymore.
Right. It's got to be a lot. It's got to be a lot harder to do a physical remake or whatever.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And you can authenticate it if it's like physical. So you can't do that with an NFT.
Right. They try to digitally sign it and encrypt a digital signature to it, and I get all that, but. In the end, you would know that it's the real one, but still, I don't know. I think it's a fad. I don't see it as being anything. I think I couldn't have said it better myself. I think it's stupid.
And I agree with y'all. We're about 3 minutes away from the race to Talladega. Keep it locked in here to ESPN Northwest Florida. Last one question here for you, Todd, and then we'll get a recap quickly from Julia. If you could open one sealed box from any year, any brand, sealed box of sports cards, what would it be?
1952 Topps. I would love to pull a Mantle rookie.
Yeah.
I think it would be great. It'd be so cool.
I know you're a business guy, And that's what it boils down to.
For me.
Right. No, 100%. That's what I'm saying with you, because we're talking about Todd right now and the great things at PCB Hobby. But when we're talking about Todd, does it feel better pulling or acquiring or whatever? Because there's cool stories all the time. But, there's nothing like that feeling.
Pulling that heater is just, there's nothing like it. My second one would be 86 Fleer basketball.
Really?
Michael Jordan.
Oh, Michael Jordan. Yeah.
That'd be my second.
I've been ever since Brian showed me the cards from it, I've been jonesing to open up. I don't even collect sports cards, but I want to open up a Cosmic Chrome box.
Oh, yeah.
So bad. Just because the designs are cool. Actually, there is a Cosmic Chrome, I think, baseball coming out soon, within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So I might.
I just love how they're how the collaborations between space and baseball.
It's nuts. Yeah, it's nuts.
Do they make too many one-on-one cards in sports cards?
They do now, but it's cool. It's a cool chase, and they are different. I mean, there's not one of one that's the same as another one of one. But there's variations and parallels and things like that. But in the end, I think it's a cool thing. I think it really is cool. It's a good chase.
Hey, there you go. Julia, hit us with a recap here of what's going on at PCB Hobby.
Absolutely. So follow us on Instagram at PCB Hobby and Facebook at PCB Hobby to stay up to date on all of our adventures this week at C2E2 in Chicago. You can also find us on eBay Live at PCB Hobby. We're streaming for sports cards, coins, comic books, and TCGs. And then you can find us, of course, on Back Beach at 11939 Panama City Beach Parkway. We are right next to Florida Linens.
There you go. Well, happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Thank you guys for coming in, knowing that you got to get up there to Chicago. We'll see you next Monday unless anything crazy happens.
Right, sounds good.
Y'all go have a great time up there. That's Todd and Julia with PCB Hobby. Go check out the physical location, but if you can't do that, go to PCBHobby.com. Go to any of your social medias. Type in PCB Hobby. It's that easy, and they will take great care of you over there. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Coming up next, we're going to announce our next qualifier for the race to Talladega.
Your home for college basketball. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Tonight, it's the NCAA Men's College Basketball Championship.
Houston from behind to the national championship game.
The Houston Cougars taking on the Florida Gators.
The Gators win it. They'll play in the national championship game.
Coverage starts at 6:30. Tip-off at 8:09 right here.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Monday. Partly cloudy tonight with a wind out of the north-northwest around 10 miles per hour and a low of 53. Tomorrow morning, look for a gentle breeze and mostly sunshine with a temperature near 64. The afternoon and evening, a high around 71 and sunshine. Wednesday, hot with a high of 71 and sunshine. This weather forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
When you bring your vehicle to Panama City Toyota for repairs or maintenance, you'll get the warmest welcome around.
That's because we see service differently.
It's not only an expert team that can help with everything, from simple adjustments to a new set of tires. It's also a team that values your time, so we make your experience as quick and comfortable as possible. Because we're committed to service that goes beyond. Only at Panama City Toyota.
Hello?
Honey, my radio is making this loud squeaking noise when I'm stopping my car. I really think I might need new speakers.
Oh, why don't you try turning down the radio, hon?
It just got worse.
Maybe we should take it down to Alford Tire and Service Center, and maybe they can figure out what's going on. At Alford Tire and Service Center, we provide peace and quiet with the radio off. So if your car is making a strange noise, come and see us for your free visual safety inspection today. Located on Tyndall Parkway in beautiful Callaway, we do it all at Alford Tire and Service Center.
You found us inside the CBC Construction Studios. ESPN Northwest Florida. He entered a kids' 1 mile fun run and came in 9th. David Hayes is part of the Afternoon Underdogs. Weekdays 4 to 6 on ESPN Northwest Florida and the ESPN Northwest Florida app.
You're back in the doghouse, built by CBC Construction. David Hayes, James Fife. We are the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3, Panama City 101.9, and Port St. Joe. The moment that you've all been waiting for. Start your engines. Vroom, vroom. Coming up next to the left turn. And that is going to be for the race to Talladega. Trey, you are on the clock. Trey 8618 is the last four of your number. Trey, give us a call. The time to beat today is 2 seconds there by Jackson State. Jeff, make sure you're listening to the Coach James Hale Show in the mornings at 7:15 and 8:15 in the morning. They're going to give you guys a code word of the day. When you hear that code word, text it and your racing name to 850-215-6290. Then make sure you listen back on the Inside Drive at 1240 and the Afternoon Underdogs at 540. If we announce your name, race to the phones and give us a call. It's going to be the top two qualifying times. That'll win you the race to Talladega. 2 tickets to the Cup Series race, the Jack Links 500 on April 27th. You'll also get tickets to the ARCA Menard Series, the Xfinity Series. It's going to be a great time. Contesting is going to run from today till April 18th. All qualifiers instantly win. Some cool stuff here from the station. Buffalo Rock Pepsi, Tommy's Express Car Wash, and ESPN Northwest Florida. The race to Talladega is brought to you by PCB Hobby, Panama City Toyota, Buffalo Rock, Hampton Inn on Thomas Drive, and Home to Suites. You can only enter the race, you can only qualify one time. Just like Bone Crusher brought up a good point. Well, you only get one car to race in NASCAR, so you get one time to qualify, so make sure you do your best. However, I guess there is still one caveat that I would have to clear up. That would be, what if we announce their name, but they don't call back?
Then I guess you didn't qualify.
Right. I would have to keep track of all the names that I picked at DNF.
We got a list back here.
That's what I'm saying. So I guess if you don't call, you get a DNF, and at the end of the day, your qualifying time was not good to place, but it qualifies you for some cool swag from ESPN Northwest Florida.
Coming to you,
right? Exactly. Great stuff there. Don't forget. Lone Star Boyle House and Sports Bar tonight, 6:30. The madness will begin, and the tip tonight for Florida and Houston will be at 8 p.m. Coverage will start right here on the air at 6:30 this evening. Hope to see you guys over there for a bit this evening. If you do head that way, make sure that you travel safe, as the rain doesn't sound as loud as what it did a few minutes ago in here, because we got that good old tin roof, so when it starts coming down, you hear it pretty good. Which, I mean, is there... What do you prefer, the tin roof or the shingled roof?
Oh, I love a good tin roof, especially like a nice metal roof when you get that nice drizzly summer rain on it.
It's all about the sound for me, yeah. No doubt. And, I mean, when it's not raining, for crying out loud, I'll put rain videos on YouTube with the black screen just because I don't think there's a better way to fall asleep. Maybe I should move to Seattle.
You can try that. Rains a lot in Seattle. I mean, you could take afternoon naps during the summer around here.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I could just, move to Seattle, live in a tent, and put 10 on top of the.
You'll be joining many others.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I would fit right in. We've got about 8 minutes here tonight before the end of the show. We don't have any trivia. Braves. Oh my goodness gracious!
You sure you want to talk about that?
Almost thankful for the rain out on Sunday. They win Friday evening 10-0, and it's like, all right, maybe those first 7 games weren't ideal, but they weren't the worst in the world. We just had a little offensive explosion. For me, if we lost the next game on Saturday evening, 4-2 or what, put up some daggone runs, but then to shut out a team and then follow that up with a shutout, my goodness, James, I'm just, it's tough right now, but the season's just started. What about the Phillies taking 2 or 3 from the Dodgers?
That was fun. That was a great series to be watching. It's a series that we're going to probably be getting to watch in October. So great little preview there.
Yeah, it was. The game yesterday was back and forth. I mean, Philly jumped out to a nice, sizable lead, but then here come the Dodgers, and the Dodgers take a late lead, and next thing you know, the Phillies are on top. So as much as this was wild for me to kind of think about. Obviously, the Yankees, I've hated them since I was a kid. I would say that they're number one when it comes to my dislike of a baseball team. And that's mainly because of their greatness, if you will. I hate the teams within my division. I would say that it's not as big of a hatred for the Nationals and the Marlins because it's kind of like most of the time y'all are by far the little brother outside of 2019 when the Nationals, I believe, won the World Series.
And those 2 times the Marlins won the World Series.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't think that it really. When I was that age, I don't think that there was any team that I hate. Like the only team that I hated was the Yankees, and I don't even know if that was because I was raised here in the South, and it was like was Yankee just a derogatory term, and I'm just attaching to the baseball. I'm being highly facetious there, but
so you're okay. So the Nats, we're not too down on the Nats. We're not too down on the Marlins, even though both of those teams have more World Series wins in your lifetime than the Mets.
Yeah, but I don't know what it is. I hate the Mets. The Mets and the Phillies are kind of tied, but maybe it's the blue and orange from the Mets. I don't know. But the Dodgers, there is some element of the amount of money that they're spending, which, hey, to all the other owners in the ownership of Major League Baseball, do better. That's on y'all.
You want to talk about spending money? Let's talk about the Toronto right now. Let's talk the Blue Jays.
All right, real quick. I hate the Dodgers more. Freddie Freeman got the ball rolling, and then now that they're spending all this money, I hate the Dodgers more than I hate the daggone Phillies. The Blue Jays, $400 million.
500.
Oh, 514. That's all right. Yeah, a little dyslexia right there. Late last night, kind of too, as well, right? Were you surprised to see that roll through this early in the season when kind of all of us have been? The question right now is, do the Blue Jays deal him at the deadline? And they got the job done.
They got the job done, and they are giving him $500 million.
Yeah.
14 years, no deferrals.
And he's kind of off to another very early in the season, so it doesn't matter. And he kind of started off slow last year and then caught heat. But being an owner of him, I believe, in 2 fantasy baseball leagues, I actually went and picked up and kind of experimenting here. I did not drop Vladdy Jr., but I went up and picked Tyler Soderstrom up from the A's, who's having a nice little run right now. And he's also one of those reasons too is when I would be playing the show on MLB The Show, I would always I would use the A's to try to rebuild them, and so Tyler Soderstrom was a guy that I brought up from probably the Sacramento River Cats, and ended up using him. Let's go over here to Facebook real quick and dive through some of the best and worst of the weekend. James, do you have one?
I got a best, definitely easy best of the weekend for me. Alexander Ovechkin breaking the record. Easy best for me.
Yeah.
Another best for me, the St. Louis Blues, 12 in a row wins.
Oh, yeah.
That is the record for the Blues. Not an NHL record, but that is the franchise record for the Blues with 12 in a row. And I only got one word for worst. That word is Braves.
Yeah. Well, while the shoe fits, I will wear it, no doubt about that. To the best and worst that matter more than mine do. Max Delighten best, Samson calling the ACC the Toy Poodle League. And the worst... The worst, see, I must have, me and Ryan were talking about that on the Inside Drive, and I must have been busy working on something, and I did not hear him saying that directly about the ACC, because I was like, well, how do we know he was saying it, directly about the ACC? Like, he could have been talking about the SEC or whatever, trying to poke and prod, but no, obviously. That was highly directed at the ACC. Worst college hoops is winding down. One game, that's tonight. Boston Sims, his best was easy. Josh Hatcher started the season at 7-8. The coach's daughter, Leanne Schwarzentrooper, same as what Max said, still giggling about it, about Samson calling the ACC a toy poodle league. And her worst was that her O's are in a slump. But when you look at the records across baseball right now, outside of the Braves, everybody's kind of jumbled up right there. Coach Walker says best Florida Gators in the finals, and the worst was UConn. Well, not UConn, but South Carolina breaking down and just having a terrible outing against Paige Beckers and the UConn Huskies, who get it done again. Barrett Townsend best. Bozeman beats North Bay Haven in softball to become district champions. They are 15-0. Worst, it was a good sports weekend. Florida fans acting like they've been watching basketball all season now that they're in the championship. Nick Baldwin says best. Kyle Tucker raking with the Cubs in first place. Worst, women's championship game was an absolute dud, which kind of stinks that it was, being that the kind of history that South Carolina, the brand that South Carolina and Coach Staley have been building. And so when you see UConn, who as a 3 seed, maybe they could have been seeded a little higher or whatnot, but for them to come in and kind of just dismantle that, and you always want the championship game to be a good product, as good as it possibly can. And that one just first quarter, yeah, they played quarters, not halves. First quarter, they had a 5-point lead. Second quarter, and they outscored them by 5 more points. It was a 10-point lead. Then you go into the third quarter, and that's where they just ran away with it. And South Carolina tried to pull it back a little bit closer, being down by 35. Well, that is going to do it. We did have one more. Let's see if I can get to it real quick. John Moore, best. Phillies take 2 of 3 from the Dodgers. Worst, Duke blowing a 14-point second half lead. You guys have a great afternoon. Be safe out there, and we hope to see you down there at Lone Star Boyle House. Hopefully you show up and try to win you some Atlanta Braves tickets. Thoughts and prayers again with Coach Brian Haddad. Y'all enjoy the evening. Be safe. Enjoy the rain a little bit. Sleep and get what you need to get done. Coverage starts for the title game tonight at 6:30, and the tip will be at 7:50. But we'll be down there at Lone Star Boyle House. For James Fife, I'm David Hayes. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. Jesus loves you. So do I.
Your home for college basketball. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Tonight, it's the NCAA Men's College Basketball Championship.